Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another special video. I'm your host, Madcap, and thank you for tuning into my channel where I'm here to subvert your expectations and, no surprise, call out Hollywood's bullshit, mainly Disney. No, this is a new interesting topic. So, what's trending on Twitter today is the new hashtag Change Hollywood initiative being perpetuated by Michael B. Jordan, who is, I'm not going to use the term here, but he is a prestigious young actor. He is the lead of critically acclaimed Rocky sequels, Creed and Creed 2. He started his career as early as 2012 when he broke out in Josh Trank's Chronicle, and since then he's been on pretty much just on the radar until he reached full stardom with Creed and then Black Panther, and he has worked on a couple of dramas along the way, including Fruit Yale Station, which is a pretty relevant film considering the climate that we're in terms of the George Floyd shooting and other shootings that have happened that have affected black communities. But yeah, he broke out in full stardom with Black Panther, the first mainstream black superhero film that grossed $1.3 billion, nominated for many Oscars, and so yeah, pretty big actor under his name. So Michael B. Jordan started to launch the Change Hollywood initiative, which is pretty much just it is what it is going on in Hollywood. It's another inclusion mission for organizations and multi-million-dollar like groups that work in Hollywood and have been run by many big name actors along the way, and it's pretty much what it's calling for is it's trying to call out for more inclusion for black creatives, actors, and black stories that do touch on stuff about black communities and black individuality within America. So we're just going to break this article down because there are some things that I would like to comment on. Before I go on, this is an article from The Loop. I apologize. This was published just today by Amber Dowling. This pretty much just reporting on this new initiative. Okay. Michael B. Jordan is hoping that Hollywood is ready to put its money where its mouth is. Oh, really? After a recent surge in marches, rallies, protests, and lots of talk about ending systemic racism and pushing for real change since the killing of George Floyd, Black international outrage. Okay, pushing for real change since the killing of George Floyd. Now, I believe Hollywood, especially many black producers and organizations that work with a lot of black talent in Hollywood, have been pushing real change for quite a long time. Especially from, I don't want to be ignorant here and forget names, but there was a really big shooting in 2015 that prompted the Black Lives Matter movement, and of course there was a lot of push for nominating too many white-oriented films and filmmakers in the 2016 Academy Awards that was honoring films from 2015. So, I mean, the push for real change has been going on for a while. While George Floyd, it's pretty much just another example of just another reason for them to push this sort of initiative, which these initiatives have been going on for a while, and quite recently it's been going on with the feminist narrative after condemning Harvey Weinstein and many people within his circle for sexual misconduct, assault, and the depravity that's been lying quiet in Hollywood for decades, I believe. Let's continue. And not only is he leading by example, but he's also spearheading an initiative to help others in Hollywood navigate it all. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the 33-year-old Black Panther star and Outlier Society's Productions, I believe this is something I've never heard of. It's probably just another inclusion group pushing for the same initiative. Outlier, 33-year-old star, Black Panther star, and Outlier Society Productions had teamed with Color of Change to launch the Change Hollywood initiative on July 23rd. The initiative provides a roadmap that offers tangible ways to invest in anti-racist content and authentic black stories. Now, the anti-racist content is interesting here because, usually with a lot of films that focus on the hardships and issues of black communities, racism included, don't you think it's important to explore the racism? Because if it's just if you're making anti-racist content, then clearly it just comes off one-sided, where you don't really get to explore the racism that lies issue with a lot of black stories and existing in a lot of black communities. So, and authentic black stories. Authentic black stories. I mean, I'm not sure what this refers to in terms of authenticity. I mean, we had films in the last decade that do tackle on that do tackle race issues and even social issues concerning black individuality. Like we had The Help, which it's also boasted by an ensemble of white actresses, but we had The Help, 12 Years a Slave, directed by Steve McQueen, a British black filmmaker, well esteemed for that film, and Tyler Perry is still one of the more powerful black figures in film. Has produced a lot of the Medea content, as well as other like Tyler Perry produced like dramas and comedies, romances. So I mean, even if you're trying to push for inclusion, I would say people like Tyler Perry who are pushing for a lot of black narratives. He pretty much banked on making films that pretty much just like talk down to black communities. Even Tyler Perry films are not at all authentic. They do push for comedy and they do tackle pretty much just stereotypes of black archetypes, mainly the household mother that is Medea, played by a male actor. Okay. The initiative provides a roadmap that offers tangible ways to invest in anti-racist content, authentic black stories, while supporting black talent and reinvesting police funds to support black communities. Not sure what... Now, this is the same thing that I covered in my voice acting tangent, where Christian Bale and Jenny Slate dropped out of roles in which they were playing like other racial colored characters in two of their own animated shows that they were working on, as a way to pretty much just counteract the whole George Floyd movement, the whole George Floyd racism that's been still going on strong today, as with cities still under protesting for the movement and also for the losses of other named individuals following George Floyd. I believe Portland is definitely in a hellhole right now. And so they're like these actresses that were doing these voice roles. They dropped out of the roles that were made for them from inception as a way to make a statement to include more black actors and more black voice actors to play these roles, even though like the shows that they were working on were still being held by white creatives. So you're going to have white creatives projecting their own voice of how they perceive other racial characters, and namely this is just for comedy. Okay, and so reinvesting police funds. Now, reinvesting police funds. I mean, there's a lot of hyperbolic talk to defund police forces in certain communities and cities. So, I mean, if it's just solely for black communities, I mean, I really have no comment. Okay. Recommendations, resources, directories, templates, analysis, task force, writer's room, and consulting sessions will be made available through the program. And Yeah, just yesterday, Michael B. Jordan made a tweet regarding this initiative, and here's what he has to say. Hollywood has a history of racism, excluding black talent, black voices, derailing black careers, propping up policing and injustices. Now, have a history. Now, yes, Hollywood from its time has had a history of negatively portraying black Americans, black individuals in their films. I mean, the elephant in the room is definitely Birth of the Nation, where they portrayed black people, and this was a film set. I believe it's a film set during Reconstruction, where it's pretty much just a film that glorifies the KKK, but it's portraying black individuals as monsters, where you have white actors portraying black actors in blackface, which I totally get. I don't think the film would resonate well in today's culture, but to go on with the history, the whole stereotypical narrative towards black people has been a thing in history, but there's been some glass ceiling breaking moments within Hollywood's history. You had Gone with the Wind. Let me pull up here. Gone with the Wind, an epic directed by Victor Fleming, which is known to be one of the greatest films of all time, though definitely opinions change, and a lot of talk has been negative towards this film for many reasons, not just for its racism, but for the character of Scarlett, though that's another story. Let's see here. You had Hattie McDaniel, one of the few African American actresses, and she had encountered her own hardships dealing with racism within the industry. But in Gone with the Wind, she plays a black servant, and she was nominated and becoming the first African American to win an Oscar in 1939. So that's a huge glass ceiling moment for her, and her name and legacy has been respected with her name in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Tremendous achievement for her, and may she rest in peace. And there's also another controversial movie, Song of the South, a Walt Disney film that tackles the Reconstructionist era, as it's about pretty much just a white family, a white child, trying to understand the issues of racism and segregation as he's hanging out with a small black community within the plantation. And so there are a bunch of animation sequences involving characters who are obviously stereotypes that has been reinforced from Dumbo. But one reason I want to bring this up, James Baskett. James Baskett is another big African American actor, and he was known for portraying the character Uncle Remus in Song of the South. And because he delivered such a very heartwarming and welcoming portrayal of the character, he was also given an honorary Academy Award for his performance. Now, it's not listed as Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor, as it would show here that despite the Academy Award win for the honorary achievement, he was not considered for his role for Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor. But an honorary Academy Award, it's still a big win for James Baskett, another glass ceiling moment. But, I mean, for both films, Gone with the Wind is going through some not streaming issues, but clearly they want to pull out HBO Max, and Song of the South has been in the Disney Vault for a while, so it's hard to tell if that film will ever come out in the light of day. But yeah, this whole thing about having a history of racism, well, yes, back in the 30s all the way to, at which point the 70s, where we had black exploitation, African American talent has been undermined, and it was pretty much just due to the climate that the Hollywood industry was functioning under, where you had Jim Crow, segregation laws. So, of course, it was there to police black actors from pursuing prestigious roles. Um, Now, silencing black voices. Well, I wouldn't know what he means by black voices. Does he mean like actors from pursuing any roles to project any characters, or just silencing like stories with known figures in Black history that need to provide a voice to promote some lesson against racism or segregation or racial biases. Um, and excluding black talent, we also had another. Sorry, to go off tangent. We also had another big movie that came out during the civil rights movement. Night of the Living Dead, directed by George A. Romero, a white American horror filmmaker who sadly had passed away a few years ago. Which was a daring movie because you had Dwayne Jones, who is the central lead in the film, and he portrays a character who's trying to keep a house full of scared and panicked survivors against an onslaught of undead people that are amassing in front of the house that they hide in, and it's a breakthrough moment because at the same time, while being a horror film, it is commenting in many clever ways of subtext about what's going on with the civil rights movement, the death of Martin Luther King, which does reflect that in spoilers in Night of the Living Dead, when all the other characters besides Dwayne Jones' character are dead, he rises up from the house to see that a group of, I believe that they're hunters and soldiers that were looking for survivors, catch wind of the fact that he's alive in the house, and they just shoot him. So it's a pretty haunting moment, but this was a pretty big leap, but it became such a huge hit when it first came out, and then led to, just pushing for more independent and art house cinema with blaxploitation is what you would call it. Derailing black careers. Now, I don't know what black careers is he mentioning. I mean, Tyler Perry is still having a career, and he's made a lot of terrible movies. Most of them made a lot of money for him. I guess if you can argue Eddie Murphy, who had a career but derailed himself, but only because he was doing a lot of bad comedy projects, until he just kind of like broke out again last year, and a movie that had come out that would have put him into Oscar caliber recognition. Let me see here. What was this movie called? Let's see. Let's see. What's it called? Dolomite is My Name. Well, Eddie Murphy's career might be ruined, but I mean, he still has a network. He still has ways to branch out again. So, Dolomite's My Name. 97% on Rotten Tomatoes it was rated, and it was a good comeback film for him, for Eddie Murphy. So, I don't know what he means by derailing black careers, because that can go many ways, but he doesn't really list any examples as this article goes along. I mean, in terms of in its history, then yeah, there are those measures and standards that Hollywood was adhering to due to the laws they were promoting around before the civil rights movement turned it all around for society in terms of segregation and systematic racism enforced through segregation, and I think to derail black careers would be a matter of talent. If a black actor or a black director makes a film and it just shows that of their shortcomings in execution, then of course that person would have a hard time pursuing more jobs in Hollywood, because I mean, what I understand is like, for Michael B. Jordan's sake, he was involved in a colossal failure before Van Forstick, though it had nothing to do with him because he still had a career coming out with Creed and then Black Panther. But for Josh Trank, that's definitely he's not looking to work in mainstream Hollywood anytime soon. But yeah, derailing black careers. I believe he's just saying like, Hollywood just had a career of like ruining black actors for some reason, but we're never given much indication. I mean, this is an article basing off this whole initiative, so I'm sure there's probably more to this. But I mean, from my knowledge, I mean, a lot of careers for specific black actors, mainly like Eddie Murphy's at one point, and even Will Smith's kind of on a decline, despite making bank with Aladdin. He's been pretty much just picking scripts just out of any pile, and then he comes out with Collateral Beauty, Suicide Squad, After Earth. So I wouldn't really blame Hollywood. It's probably maybe on the choices that many black creatives, actors, and filmmakers take when they're pursuing other projects that do kind of just mar their status in Hollywood. But to continue, and propping up policing and injustices. Propping up policing and injustices. Now, I wouldn't know what injustices Michael B. Jordan referring to. Jesus Christ, stop it. The police brutality that's been going on in not just Los Angeles, but in other states. I mean, it's definitely unrelated to Hollywood as we know it. And injustice as well. I mean, in this era of like progressive Hollywood politics, I mean, you have Disney, for example, perpetuating like black identity politics, progressivism, oh my god, black progressivism, with stuff like Black Panther, John Boyega's involvement in Star Wars. But I mean, you should know that for Star Wars, for example, John Boyega being one of the central leads in the sequel trilogy, they wouldn't market his name and his face to other film markets, like in China. China has they definitely do have a sentiment against black films and black actors that Disney has to like Photoshop John Boyega out of posters in order to sell big to other markets. And at the same time, they're still trying to push him as this prominent character in Star Wars. And I mean, with the sequel trilogy already wrapped up, John Boyega, with the character of Finn, serves no purpose in the long run. Let me repeat this tweet again. Hollywood has a history of racism, excluding black talent, silencing black actors, derailing black careers, and propping up policing and injustices. Hollywood break the pattern. It's about that time. This feels like a typo. But anyways, to continue on, this roadmap is just the beginning of the journey to racial justice. We are all accomplices in the fight to transform Hollywood, and we invite creators, content creators, and industry leaders to join us in working together to change Hollywood. Jordan told the publication in a statement, "We look forward to including a variety of voices in doing what we do best, telling authentic stories," which, I mean, a lot of stories with, if you want to push for black characters, they don't have to be authentic, but they have to be at least entertaining forms of media, like forms of content that you're pushing. Bringing people together. Now, I love this, bringing people together. Now, in the terms of inclusion, they want to make this solely on bringing in black people, black creative voices. So it seems like they want to bring the general audience of whatever content that they're pushing, but you know, it depends on how you view it. I mean, it just feels a bit like I feel like this piece of statement just feels a little at odds with itself. But okay, continue. Partnering with influential artists and changing the rules of the game. Jordan has first-hand experience with bringing these stories to life on the big screen with a clear goal at amplifying the stories and voices of POC, His Outlier Society has used an inclusion rider, a clause in the contract that makes diversity the rule rather than the exception. In all its projects ever since Frances McDormand's Best Actress speech for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri at the 2018 Oscars ended with the words inclusion rider. So yeah, this is what, this is pretty much just what every award-winning actress does when they step on stage. They give their speech, but then they just want to make it about their political agendas and their political views instead of just like in honor, acknowledging the people who helped make the projects that you worked to win that Oscar possible. In support of the women and men who are leading this fight, I will be adopting the inclusion rider for all projects produced by my company, Outlier Society. Jordan shared on Instagram, at the time, I've been privileged to work with powerful women and persons of color throughout my career, and it's Outlier's mission to continue to create for talented individuals going forward. Later that year, Jordan has announced a first look deal with Warner Brothers, along with the first film under the new policy, Just Mercy. A critically acclaimed and award-winning 2019 film that features Jamie Foxx, Michael B. Jordan, respectively, retelling the story of Walter McMillian, a man who appealed his murder conviction with the help of a young lawyer. Interesting. So you're branching out. You come up with a project that's already acclaimed well by critics and has been recognized by the Academy. Jordan has been a prominent voice in the Black Lives Matter movement, attending protests and speaking to crowds in Los Angeles. In June, he addressed attendees at a rally in Century City that was organized by the 4 major film and TV agencies to demand that Hollywood do better. I want us to invest in black staff. Jordan said at the time, you committed to a 50-50 gender parity in 2020. Where is the challenge to black hiring? Black content led by black executives, black consultants. Are you policing our storytelling well? Let us bring our darkness to the light. Black content, executives, and consultants. Are you policing our storytelling well? So this is odd. So are you saying that white creatives, white content creators, white consultants don't have a voice to provide for the black audience? Because with Steve McQueen, he directed 12 Years a Slave, and he is the appropriate guy to direct that film. But he has tackled films of different subjects that are outside of the black community knowledge. He's done a film called Famine, a film that was surrounding the Great Irish Famine. And I believe that stars Michael Fassbender as well, and Even Shame, where he was providing a voice exploring the addiction of sex and pornography through Michael Fassbender's character as the lead. So I don't really get this knowledge. I don't really get where Michael B. Jordan's coming from, where he feels that black storytelling isn't being policed well or being portrayed well, because we have examples, even The Help, where it's trying to it's directed by Tate Taylor. Let me look that up. Tate Taylor, based on the award-winning book by Catherine Stockett, a white author, and the film was adapted by Tate Taylor, a white filmmaker who's trying to address the issues of racism during the 1960s South region in the United States, with all of these black maids who have been under the help and servitude of white middle class households, and provide their own voice, what's been going on with their services, and what have they been experiencing in terms of racism that did go out in pretty much in subject in with The Help. So we have some black movies, but at the same time you do have stories by black creatives, like I said, Tyler Perry, who is I mean, who was for a long time been pretty much just talking down to the black audience, pandering them with stupid comedy and very thin melodramatic like soap opera style like movies in terms of like films that tackle domestic abuse, relationship troubles, people in relationship rubs finding new relationships and solace through other people. But at the same time, he's made money off these kinds of movies. Now Jordan is hoping that hashtag Change Hollywood initiative will give those companies a boost in doing exactly that. As the Hollywood Reporter notes, there are 4 pillars to the program: divest from the police, invest in anti-racist content and authentic black stories. Now again, the anti-racist content. For an audience to engage with authentic black stories, you need the racism aspect. You need racial themes to address why we should have morals about black communities, why we should have morals against racism. You need those things to make your black stories authentic. I'm not saying you only need racism, but in terms of like having a black voice to address the issues, but making it solely without the racism subject, you need the racism as well. Invest in black talent and careers, and invest in black communities. As Jordan fights for equality, he's also keeping himself pretty busy with the slate of upcoming movies. He'll star in next year's adaptation of Tom Clancy's Without Remorse. And will sign up in a untitled project with Margot Robbie and Christian Bale, directed by David O. Russell. Meanwhile, fans could look forward to his performances in Wrong Answer and Methuselah, and the 3rd iteration of Creed coming out soon. So that's pretty much the article, and yeah, what it just comes down to is just more push for virtue signaling, more calls to push for inclusivity within, black actors and creatives. Now, I had this issue with Ava DuVernay before, where there was a whole debate about hiring black editors. Now, I don't think race and color shouldn't matter, but because of the whole climate we're in, they really want to make it all about the color issue. Hollywood really wants to push for inclusion for one specific group, when really it should just come down to talent. And Michael B. Jordan has already proven to be beyond a very talented actor. He's been in many hits. He's well acclaimed in many dramatic roles. And it's mainly because Michael B. Jordan is a charismatic, very strong screen presence. And all those films have done well with audiences. They have resonated well with audiences. And they want to make it they want to just put an anti-white sentiment because of racism that is associated with all rights, which is not true at all. Not every white cis male or female is a racist. They're just putting it that way. In fact, like I remember Tessa Thompson came out saying like she's done with starring with working with white actors and white directors, and who knows where her career will go, but it's not a very good sign to put out there. But yeah, so again, this is pretty much just more diversity push, another initiative just to kind of promote this inclusion of black actors, which it has been established time and time again, where you had, like I said, the glass ceiling breaking moments for Gone with the Wind and Song of the South. But yeah, many black actors that broke out many times. Samuel Jackson is the most bankable actor, the most popular black actor out there. Will Smith broke out in the 90s. And his films like Independence Day resonated well with foreign markets, and therefore that movie became like a blockbuster. Yeah, Jamie Foxx, a music artist and a working actor too. Eddie Murphy, many comedians. There are a lot of notable comedians that are black names, but I don't know. So that's pretty much the article. Tell me what you guys think. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully you guys can tune in more on Madcap Productions. You may follow me on Twitter, where I will continue to subvert your expectations by calling out Hollywood's bullshit. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.